Greetings, Mark Garang here, publisher of the Conway Daily Sun, and today my guest is Amy Snow, still chairman of the Conway School Board. How you doing, Amy?
I'm good, Mark. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Good, boy. What a interesting time, right?
Yeah.
A lot going on. So why don't we start with the John Fuller? I know this is Tuesday. Last night you had a school board meeting.
A marathon meeting. Yeah.
Marathon meeting. They're all marathon meetings, it seems like.
I know, right?
And John Fuller, of course, that's the school that was is now the students have moved on to the other two schools, and so the big question is what to do with the school, right? And you formed the committee, and you're still forming the committee.
We're still forming the committee. So we have the selectmen have elected two members, a member and an alternate, and the member is Steve Porter, and the alternate is John Colbath.
Mm-hmm.
The budget committee will pick their. They're also going to do a member and an alternate because it's that important to people that they want to make sure that if there's a vote, there's somebody representing. So they're going to choose theirs at their next meeting. The planning board, Ben Colbath is the member, and I believe Eliza Grant, is the alternate.
Okay.
And at the board level, it's myself, Matt Stern, and Melanie LaBelle.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been getting a lot of emails. There's a lot of interest from citizens who want to be on the committee, and we're going to be. They have until the 4th of October to send me an email if they're interested in being on the committee, and then on our meeting on the 15th, we'll be choosing.
And how many how many community members will there be?
3.
Okay, and how are you going to choose them?
Well, I think that we have to figure that out.
Kind of like this, because we're both on the search committee, on the superintendent search committee.
We're not going to do the interviews. We're going to look at the, some people just voiced their interest. Some people sent me an email, said, I'm interested.
Mm-hmm.
And then other people sent emails saying, I'm interested, and this is why I think I would be a good fit. So those people would probably get.
So you're just going to choose people that the board thinks would be
good for that committee. Yeah.
Now, what was the discussion last night about between whether it's for the school, for the community, or the school and the community?
Mike DiGregorio brought it up. He didn't want the word, because the committee's guiding question is, what should we do with the John Fuller School that's in the best interest of the Conway School District and the community? Right, and I developed that, and the board helped. We worked together to get it what they wanted. And at last night's meeting, he decided that he didn't want the word community in there.
So it's a little bit of a waving the red flag.
And it was a 4-3 vote. Me and Randy and Melanie, I believe, were the ones that voted against that. We wanted to keep the word community in there.
So it was 4-3 to take it out? To
take it out.
And what's the idea of taking? I mean, obviously, the school is the community is the school.
Well, that was my argument, and that's why I put that 11-member committee together.
Right.
The planning board and the selectmen and the housing coalition. They picked somebody. Josh, I believe is his name.
Josh Brushkin. Yes.
Yes, him.
Yeah. Sorry.
He's on the committee from the housing coalition. Yeah. And I feel
from Pinkham Real Estate.
I feel the same way, but that's how the majority of the board voted. They say that what's necessarily best for the community isn't best for the school district. The school district owns that building, and that was the majority of the board's feeling, that it needs to be what's in the best interest of the school district as opposed to the school district and the community.
I mean, can you see how that could play out, well, one thing, let's talk just for a second. The John Fuller property is how big? Is it 11 acres?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and it's set up so like there's a garage on the property in between the parking lot, the front parking lot, and the back parking lot. And the town parks its sidewalk plow there. So the town has an interest in keeping that. So we have all kinds of options. We can subdivide it, keep that Route 16 frontage in the parking for Whitaker Woods or whatever, and subdivide that part of the building, that part of the property, or we could sell, we could lease, we could keep it.
Does that 11 acres include the old SAU property?
Yes, it does. That's what I'm saying. That old SAU property is that Route 16 frontage with that parking lot and the garage on it.
Okay, because for people who have a short memory anyway, because that used to be where the old SAU 9 building was, which was moved to on Main Street.
Right, but the school kept that property.
Yeah. So that's really, in terms of any property that the community have or the taxpayers own, that's like the primo piece of property in Conway.
It's hard to picture that piece of property with that giant building on it, because to me it just looks so small. And that building was big, but it was tall.
You mean the SAU building?
The SAU building,
Right,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But
But
there
I mean,
was a building on there.
the combination of the property is big. I mean, do you have any you know, I think over the years I've been a critic of the budget. You know, I've editorialized school spends too much money.
Yeah,
That's pretty easy to do.
Yep.
But I will say is that I would encourage the school and the community not to sell that. I mean, I think it's short money. I know you could probably sell it for $3 or $4 million or something, but boy, that is something that to me should be reserved either, you know, as we know, 20, 30 years kind of goes by in a heartbeat. Who knows what it could be?
Right. I mean, there's a lot of maintenance that would have to happen to that building, which isn't going to save us any money. The roof has to be replaced. The windows have to be replaced, you know, if the school district keeps it. I don't have a preference. I know that in my first interview with you back in, when was it, April or whatever, right after I got elected chair, I said my preference was, you know, we decided we didn't need the building, we should sell it. We could take that money and offset taxes or use it
Right.
to fix the buildings that we do have or whatever. There have been some board members that say they don't want to be landlords, but if we lease it, we would still own it, right?
Is there any opportunities?
So
I know the Woodland Charter, they're not interested in it. I think that some of the people in the Woodland Charter are interested in it down in by the Tech Village.
We have heard from Janine from the Robert Frost.
Rob, I was going to say.
Right. So if we decide to sell it and somebody puts in an offer, then any charter school, that goes to the state DOE, and that goes out to all the charter schools in the state, and they would have a chance for first refusal, you know, to say, well, we'll give you the same thing, or, you know, it would be the same terms as any kind of sale. I'm not a real estate agent, and I've never worked with that right of first refusal type of thing, so I'm not exactly sure what the Ryan Wallace would be the person
Sure.
that could explain that better, because he's in the biz, you know. But yeah, so, you know, there's a lot of things to consider, like you said, you know, as far as the property, abutting Whitaker Woods and
Right.
stuff. So hopefully this committee can work together. And what everybody needs to understand is that this committee is just formulating a recommendation to bring to the school board. And then the school board has the ultimate decision. Take the recommendation, not take the recommendation, send it back to committee, say, you know, work on this recommendation or whatever.
Can I give you my recommendation?
Can I stop you?
not while the camera's rolling. But I mean, to me, since it's set up as a school, right? In a perfect scenario, would be lease the thing for $1 to some school, whether it's the
Well, I don't
some
know
charter
about
school.
$1.
Well, you know, whatever. But part of it is they have to maintain the thing, right? They have to put that money to maintain it. And over 20, 30 years, let 20, 30 years go by. It doesn't cost the taxpayers any money, and it's still a municipal property.
Well, the committee meetings will be open to the public.
Yeah,
They'll
that's it. I'm done. That's my opinion.
There'll be,
except, except
public
when
comment.
it comes to an editorial.
But if you want it in the minutes, you know, you
Yeah,
can
I
you can always
appreciate that.
come.
All right,
But yeah, so we have our work cut out for us in that committee for sure. I do believe that we've already put out an RFP for a company to appraise the property, give it a true commercial appraisal, you know, appraise the whole property with the building and then depreciation, you know, for the boilers and whatnot. Because we still have a bond on that building for the boilers.
right, because that only went in like half a dozen years ago, right?
Something like that, yeah.
No, it's expensive stuff.
Yeah.
And all right, so that's that. So on to the assistant superintendent. So I know you're searching for one.
Yeah, I do
Right.
believe that there have been some candidates. It hasn't been announced officially, but I do believe we're going to start some interviews in the next couple weeks. So hopefully, because Amy's right out straight. You know, she's doing a lot. And she, like myself, my first night as a chair, we closed the building and we had to move from the professional development to the cafeteria. So she came in as superintendent to shortages in the finance department, no assistant superintendent. They are reconfiguring that whole office now that Jim is retiring next week.
And what's happening to that position, Jim Hill? And he was the, what do they call him?
He was the like
facility?
buildings administrator.
Okay.
So they were removing the director of finance and looking for an accountant to take that position. And then Mike Wade, who was in the position of director of budget and finance, is going to be the building administrator. And we're going to move some of the responsibilities that Jim had, like Jim was doing, the insurance, the health insurance. That's going to go
Health insurance.
to HR.
Okay.
You know, so there's going to be a lot of changes, and once they're finalized, I mean, we talk about them at the SAU 9 board because that's an SAU 9. It's under the SAU 9, not the Conway Schoolboard.
So is that with the Jim Hill and the accountant thing part of it, or that part of it, is that consolidating a position, or is it just rearranging?
It's kind of just rearranging things, moving responsibilities around, and I mean, somebody still, you know, needs to be in charge of the buildings of the SAU 9.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we have a great crew at the Conway School District, and I believe Bartlett and Jackson do as well. But he kind of coordinates.
Now,
Jim
what
was
about getting back to the
coordinating all of that.
assistant superintendent? Yeah, as you know, I don't have inside information of this stuff, right? I'm one of the outsiders. I think I said it at the search committee. I said insiders and outsiders. No, there's no, you know. So I get that, but I am an outsider, and I appreciate. And it's not a good or bad. It just is. But my understanding about the assistant superintendent is that when Carl Nelson was here, he changed the position from being a curriculum person to being a true assistant to the superintendent.
I believe Amy wants this. I believe Amy wants this. The assistant superintendent is going to be working with the professional development, helping people with their certification, getting all their certification paperwork together, and all of that. And I don't know if it was under Carl or under Kevin that they took away the admin assistant for the assistant superintendent, which put a lot more on them. And I believe that one of the things the SAU 9 is doing is bringing back that position so that she can, the assistant superintendent needs to be in the schools and working with the teachers and with the professional development and all of that.
So that really comes down to the category of academics. Is that true? I mean, who's doing the real, I mean, you know, in fact,
With the
Bill Marvel.
curriculum and everything.
Yeah, curriculum, because Bill Marvel had another column this week. He's got the, you know, the numbers of the scores aren't great. They've gotten a little worse comparative to other schools.
Well, some did, some didn't.
Some did, okay. He picked out the bad ones.
Of course he did.
Yeah, but.
And only one assessment. There's other assessments.
Yeah, and that hasn't really, all that hasn't come out yet. So
Right.
we'll see. But still, is there going to, you know, and I think people have, I think it's an obvious observation is that, geez, you know, we do have some issues with the curriculum. And I think many people have said that, and academics. So do you see the school board charged to and actually Mike
Well,
D
you're
has talked
talking about the SAU 9 board, which I am not the chair of that. Nancy
Right.
Kellerman is the chair of that. So
Yeah,
I don't
but
want to speak for her. But I think after talking with Amy, she did a lot with the curriculum, right? She brought in a new illustrative math program and stuff. So I think the new superintendent may also take up that charge.
Okay, so I guess
I think,
right.
you know, we're still talking about it at the
Right, but the SAU is
level.
the SAU, but on the Conway School Board, I mean, Conway School Board is Kennet High School, right? I mean, I know it's part of the SAU, but I guess I'm asking in general, since the school board talks about so many of the zillion other issues, is there a new priority, or does there need to be a new priority on academics and curriculum? I guess.
Well,
that's
we
my-
actually had a good part of our meeting was actually talking about the academics at last night's meeting.
See, there you go.
Right. So now that things have settled down, a lot of things have settled down, and the you know, the reorganization of the schools in the district have finally settled down, and school has started, and things are going. We can focus on that, on educational policy, and you know, talking with the hearing from the administrators, the principals and stuff, of what's going on in their schools, what's working, what's not working. We have to start thinking about looking at the strategic plan, because that expires next year. You know, we got to get an update on that to see, you know, have we reached our goals? Do we need to change some goals? Do we need to add goals? You know, have we reached goals that we can eliminate? And all of that is the educational piece.
All right. I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but certainly the scores are a little distressing, and I would think that would be a priority, right?
Yes, absolutely. For the school board is to make sure that we put policies in place that what's the word I want to use?
Encourage better.
Encourage, bolster
Yeah.
the scores and the education of our students. You
Right.
know, one thing that is very, very successful is our career tech center.
Yes.
You know, so now we need to work on the other pieces of the high school, and I think Kevin Carpenter is looking at how that high school is run, and looking at, you know, internal policies at the high school to try to get things going. Having shortages of teachers doesn't help.
Yeah.
either.
How's the shortage going?
It's getting better. We're hiring people on a trickle-in basis, you know, but
Where are they living? Where are the teachers living? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know. And that's, you know, that's one of our issues is,
Yeah.
you know, people want to work here, but then they can't find a place to live. We have lost some candidates that we voted on, and then 2 weeks later they resigned because they couldn't find a place to live. So that is an issue, but the schools are kind of reconfiguring the way the classes are and stuff to cover everything that they need to cover.
And speaking of,
And that's nationwide. You go online, you go into Indeed, and like schools all over the country are just, they're all asking for the same thing: science teachers, math teachers, special ed.
I know you have Clay Groves from the radio station as a science teacher.
Yep. And our new automotive teacher took off running. He's doing
Yeah.
great.
Good.
So.
All right. So what about speaking of transitions and reconfiguring, how is it going between, you know, with John Fuller now closed? Any issues with that? I mean, it was always about busing and all that kind of
Right.
stuff. What have
So,
you heard?
considering the short amount of time that the school
Yeah.
district had to reorganize and move everything and
Yeah.
set up everything, they are very, very proud of the way and very happy with the way it worked. Everybody worked together so that when school opened, they were ready. So it took a huge effort from everyone, from custodians to the maintenance crew, to the teachers, to the administration. I guess the first day was a little hairy with the buses. There was some construction, like from what I hear, going on right there in Center Conway on 302, which
Okay.
kind of
Yeah.
boogered things up. But what they told us yesterday or last night is that things are running smoothly, very smoothly, and no kid is on the bus for even an hour. You know, just under an hour.
It doesn't
so.
seem like the busing would be that much of an issue. I mean,
No.
just in terms of how we're
Right.
organized. I mean,
We'll
the
see what
town's
happens during
organized.
Freiburg Fair Week, trying to get from Pine Tree to
I mean, down to
I'm sorry, from Lakeside to Mountainside.
from Lakeside to Mount. Right, because
Yeah.
you got to go that way.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. No, that way. Lakeside to Mountainside.
Right.
Lakeside's the old pine tree.
Right. In the morning, I don't think it should be too much of an issue, but in the afternoon, it might be. Because, I mean, I live right on 113 in Conway Village, and traffic is backed up.
No,
as
no,
far
it's
as
a mess.
it's
And
a
then
mess.
the naming thing is everybody's happy with that now, even though. Did
I-
you vote?
I-
Were you the ones that voted for it or against it? I can't remember.
Well, originally I voted for it, and then at the second or third meeting where people came, a motion was made to change it to Pine Tree Primary, and I voted for that. I was in favor of that, but it failed again. I think it was 4-3 or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah, I would have voted with you on that one. I just think
Yeah.
those names were kind of cool. And so, but in terms of the class, do you know, and maybe you don't know, in terms of like the class sizes on the two
Yep, they're
primary schools,
manageable.
is that, I mean, does it all work?
Yeah, it seems to be where it should be. They're not larger than they should be. They're about where they are, because you can look it up online to see what is the optimal class size for each grade level.
Right.
And I think we're there.
So I guess so. The point is that even though we close the school, we don't have classes that have too many kids.
No.
Okay, so
Not
that
that
kind
I've
of worked.
heard. Nope.
So that kind of worked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. See,
yeah.
the voters spoke, and you guys did it. Right?
We did it. Well, yeah, that's our job, it's to do what,
Yeah.
the superintendent is to do the will of the school board, and the school board is supposed to do the will of the people, as far as, they
Yep.
said, do something about your budget.
Now, speaking of budgets, when do you start the budget? You're doing it now, right?
Yeah, we're talking fund balance and stuff probably at our next meeting, and start looking at the budgets. And I had said to Amy, I want, cut the fat. we need to,
What does that mean?
I don't know. That's our job to figure it out.
But are you looking, I mean, cut the fat, you're the chair, can you say, hey, we just want a level funded budget, no
We
increases?
can say whatever we want, and then it's up to them to try to do the best to
Right,
do
but
it.
is that what you're going to say?
I don't, I got to see, I'm going to give them a chance to bring us forward a budget before I say anything. And, you know, again, we're a budget committee, and it's the Conway Schoolboard plus Joyce from Freedom. I'm sorry, Joyce, I don't remember your last name, and then a Bartlett school board member as well, or
Emily?
Jackson.
Is that Emily?
Jerry.
Oh, Jerry Doherty.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So they're on the budget,
They're on our budget committee. Yeah.
the SAU budget committee?
Conway School Board.
Oh, wow. Okay, that gets complicated.
Because they have students in those schools, you know. SAU 13 has kids at 7 to 12, and Bartlett and Jackson
Right.
have kids,
Sure.
you know, 9 to 12 or 7 to 12. No, Jackson goes to Bartlett for 7th and 8th, I
Right,
believe.
yeah. Well, good.
So-
So you don't, I mean, you know, last year really was the first time that the voters voted to lower the budget. Well, last year was the first time in my memory where there was a big difference between the school board's budget and the default budget, like $1 million, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the vote that led to closing the school this year instead of next year.
Right.
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 So do you see any of that? I mean, you know, can you tell? I mean, I think part of that default budget was because the bond for the high school had expired.
Mm-hmm.
Anything like that coming down the road? I mean, or is it, you think, I guess what I'm asking is, you think the default budget's going to be similar to the school budget
I
this
don't
year?
even want to speculate. I don't even want to, because it took him meaning Mike, our director of budget and finance, from the time that we decided to close the school until just about when school opened, to reconfigure the budget for this year.
Right.
Because every school and every grade and every department has their own codes, and with John Fuller gone, all of those codes for John Fuller disappeared. He had to move them into all these different areas and stuff. So I don't even want to speculate what this is going to look like, because they have to try to figure out, you know, what they need.
Do you have a sense of what the community, you know, last year we went, the other reason why I think people voted down the school budget is because we just went through the reval. So the taxes went up anyway. Do you have any sense? I mean, you're always out in the community. Any sense of what the community's thinking of? Because the economy, I think, is actually a little bit softer. The economy in general.
Well, houses are sitting on the market longer now.
Yeah, we know, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so hopefully the feds, you know, a lot hinges on what happens November 5th.
Really?
Well, I think in every aspect of the economy, who gets elected as president, you know, and I think a lot, like, so, you know, my son works in the service industry, right? And normally where he works, this time of year, there's 100 people a night at the hotel restaurant,
Right.
you know, and not so much this year. I think on election years, presidential election years, people tend to slow down a little bit until
Yeah.
after the election. So it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell, you know, what's going to happen, who's going to be our governor, what are they going to do at the Department of Ed at the state level, you know. So there's a lot of stuff hinging on these elections that.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I mean, I agree with all that. I think the economy, regardless of presidents, just kind of ebbs and flows on its
Oh, yeah,
own.
always. Oh, yeah.
You know, and we're about ready to maybe not have a recession, but people spend a lot of money. There's a lot of COVID money around. I know the restaurants are down. Just a few people that I hear, you know, they're down like 10%, 20%, 30%. So, you know, and with inflation, things get expensive. So it's not surprising. So.
But I think, you know, I haven't heard anybody say anything about our budget yet, except
Yeah.
for the budget committee.
Right.
We just got to give the SAU a chance to catch their breath for a second, and then see what they. This is my personal opinion. See what they're going to present to us, and then we'll take a look at it and say yes, no, you know.
Yeah. Well, Amy, our time is up.
Oh,
and,
it goes so fast.
I know it does. Well, you know, you're just such a wonderful guest. I mean, I will say this is probably one of the most challenging transitions in our school system world in years, right? Between closing a school and you know, Kevin leaving and all these transitions.
Kevin leaving, Jim leaving. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking 60 years worth of
just a lot
history
going on.
and stuff right there alone.
Yeah. And you still look healthy and wise. How do you pull that off?
A little grayer.
I don't know about that. Okay, Amy, nice to see you.
No, thank you,
Okay,
Mark. Thanks
we'll do
for
it next
having
time.
me.
Okay.